Coming to you as Captain America from Blue Ridge, Georgia. We're in Tennessee this week, or Georgia this week, on vacation and went hiking again. Today, we went to Paris Mountain. Not Paris Mountain near Greenville, South Carolina, but Paris Mountain near Blue Ridge. And it was a pretty cool overlook. Two things came to mind as I went through this hike, and I think hikes are such a good representation of life. So many object lessons from hiking. So two I want to share with you today. The first one, last night I was looking for hikes and based on length and difficulty, and I've had this story in my mind for a long time that if it's not hard, it's not worth it. And this comes from the model where I am as good as my achievements. And so if an achievement is hard and I do it, that means I'm good. But if an achievement is not that hard, then I'm not that good. It was too easy. If it's too easy, then it doesn't really count. And if it doesn't count, that means I'm not really worth anything. Now, I don't believe that. That's not true. But for a lot of my life, that's really how I operated. And I would make things difficult. I'd find ways to make things difficult so I felt better about achieving them because I was tying the achievement, my identity, to the achievement. So if it was a hard thing to accomplish, even if it wasn't that hard, but I made it hard, I felt better about myself, and I like feeling better about myself. So I would complexify things to feel better about myself when I accomplished them. So last night, I'm looking through trails to hike, and I see easy. I guess they're rated easy, moderate, difficult. We don't go hiking that often, but I think that's a pretty easy scale. Easy, difficult, or easy, moderate, and difficult. And we have three kids, 11, 9, and 7. And I think about Molly, our 7-year-old. She's maybe close to half my height. Her legs are kind of short and her muscles aren't as big as mine. But to me, my old mindset of if it's not difficult, it doesn't count, I fell into that mindset without realizing it. And I completely ignored any easy hike because I wanted my hike to count. I needed a moderate hike. Now, I know enough to know that if it's difficult, it's probably too difficult for me, too difficult for the kids. But moderate's good enough. Moderate's hard enough that I can feel good about what I accomplished. So we set out on this hike, and it's moderate, and it's hard for a 7-year-old kid. And what I realized in the middle of that hike is what made me choose that hike was that it was not an easy hike. I didn't want to do something that was too easy because that wouldn't really count. I wanted to feel good about myself. I wanted to feel good about myself at the end of the hike. So what did I do? I chose a harder hike that was probably appropriate for my family. Now, did we make it? Yeah, we made it. Was it fun? There were times when there were tears that were shed. There were times when people were complaining about the hike. I get that. I chose a hike that was maybe too hard for my family because I wanted to feel good about the hike that I was doing. The harder it is, the better I feel about myself. So I recognize that in my thinking, and it's interesting how, as I've been growing, this idea about I am my achievements, I've been slowly dismantling that and seeing different areas where that comes up. And what do you know? It comes up in hiking. So now I'm aware of, even in hiking, even the hike that I choose can fall subject to an old way of thinking that doesn't serve me the way that I used to want it to serve me. What I know now is I am not the sum of my achievements. And if we went on an easier hike, it would have been just fine. We don't have to max out to feel good about ourselves. So that's lesson number one. Old patterns of thinking can come back in, and I recognize them. Say, oh, I see that. I see where that happened. I don't need to judge myself. I don't need to be hard on myself. I don't need to be harsh on myself. I just say, that's another place that old way of thinking came back into my life, and in awareness, a shift will occur. And now I'm more aware of how that thinking seeps in, leaks into my way of life, and I can be more aware of it and choose differently, make decisions differently as I grow and move forward. The second thing I want to share with you that I learned was along this very difficult hike. Molly, again, she's 7 years old. She was running ahead for a while and then just completely ran out of energy. And so she was falling behind, and she was back a little bit crying. I said, Molly, there's a phrase that I'm learning as an adult. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I said, do you want to go together with me? She said yes, and so we held hands and we walked together on this hike for a while. And What's interesting is, as I reached out my hand to hold her hand, I was expecting this idea about going together with her, that I would be like, not dragging her, but I would be giving her, like, physically pulling her along. I never pulled her along. She kept up with me simply because we were holding hands. And I thought about my life, what it means to go together in my life. Molly didn't need physically to get pushed or physically to get pulled. She just needed somebody to be there with her, with a constant reminder of me holding her hand, that there's someone with her to go together with. So in my life, I thought about accountability partners that have worked really well with me, or where I've worked really well with an accountability partner. And what I realize is that accountability partner never actually like pushed me to do anything, not physically. Sometimes they would challenge me. Sometimes they would push me, but most of the time, just knowing that they were there was what I needed. And I've always thought about this idea about me, and I'm going to back up here so you can see the full width of my arms. I've often thought about the idea about going together and this mission that I'm on and this movement that I'm leading to elevate people to live in such a way that they hear, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." I've always imagined myself being in the back of the pack, like with my arms wide open, just kind of pushing everybody together. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. And what I'm realizing is I don't even know if it needs to be an idea of where I'm physically pushing people, or, as it were, like mentally, emotionally encouraging people, like actively pushing them along. I think really what it is, this idea about going together, is just simply being together. So if I want to go fast, go alone. I used to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. If I want to go far, I need to go together. And me holding hands with Molly along the trail, where we were just simply hand in hand. I wasn't pulling her. She wasn't dragging me. Nothing of that. We were just together. So there's a whole new dimension I'm seeing today about what it means to go together. Just simply the idea of being with somebody is often enough encouragement to keep them on the path. We took breaks. We got our waters out. We got to an overlook. It was beautiful. And if I can do the video editing just right, here's a picture of the outlook that we got to see for lunch. And what I realize is we hiked, and Molly made it because we went together and I didn't have to push her at all. I was just simply there with her, being with her. Again, not doing anything out of the ordinary, just being with her was enough to keep her going. So who do you need to be with? Who do I need to be with? Who needs to be with me? Yes, there are times that we can do things to help, encourage, edify, inspire, elevate. But the being part is the part with the highest rate of return. Two other quick things I realized just about life on this hike is, one, the hike always finishes. And it's really hard in the middle sometimes. It was really hard in the middle. I'm not going to lie. For me as an adult, and I was carrying lunch on my back, so I don't know, it's a couple extra pounds. But we were going up 40% slopes at some points. That was really hard. I can do hard things. You can do hard things. Shout out to Tara Balcom. I think of you, Tara, every time I say that phrase. You can do hard things. I can do hard things. And the hike comes to an end. The difficulty, the phase in life that we're in, it may seem to take forever. And there were times we were climbing this hill that it seemed to take forever. But the hike always comes to an end. Just like in life, when we come through difficulties, you can do hard, and the season will end.